Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about how do you build your Web3 community. It's pretty simple. You make a Discord server, you add a bunch of rules, bots, channels, etc. You go to Twitter and you tell people join our community and you get a chance to win this expensive NFT or you get some airdrop tokens and there 50,000 people join your Discord community in one night. I'm totally kidding, folks. Don't mind me, but I do hope you enjoyed that meme. So in this video, we are genuinely going to talk about how do you build your Web3 community. Recently, I participated in a workshop conducted by Dowlands on community building. And this is my interpretation of how do you go about building your community in the Web3 space. I'll be taking few points from what I learned in that workshop. Also, what I'll do is I'll add the link in the description below so you can check them out yourself. Now, let's begin. Before you ask how do you build a Web3 community, ask yourself why do you need a Web3 community? Before how, let's address the why. Take a moment, pause the video here. I'm not going anywhere. Take a break, 5, 10, 15 minutes or even days. I'm here. And really think on it. Why do you need a community? Now that you've thought about it, there's not one single reason or a textbook answer as to why you need a Web3 community, but there are several different points here. Let's address them. Before we proceed, there's not a textbook guide or just written rules as to how do you go about building a Web3 community. So community or even marketing for that fact is new. Web3 is new, right? So there's no textbook or there's no some guideline somewhere that it's written that like follow these steps and you'll build a successful Web3 community or a successful marketing strategy. We are all new in this space and everyone is experimenting. What may work for you may not work for someone else. What may work for someone else may not work for you. So keep experimenting, keep trying different things. If something isn't working for you, keep it aside and later come to it and just ask yourself, why did it not work for me? Just keep experimenting and just don't follow anyone blindly. Now, a community can discover your brand. For example, acquisition, a network of ambassadors who are driving engagement and growth, and super champions, the people in your community who own the community with you, and also they are driving different factors such as innovation or communications, and they supercharge your brand and identity. These are the super champions. Let's take an example. This is the Neon Labs EVM. Neon Labs is an EVM on Solana. They have a contribution channel on the Discord where members of the community post their artwork and the link to the Twitter where they have posted about Neon Labs. This is a good example of super fans. A community can also help you build. For example, if you're building a product in the Web3 space and you already have a community, you can use that power, you can use that community to get feedback on whatever that is you're building. If you don't have a community, you have to go out on the internet, ask strangers for their opinion, and they probably don't care about what you're doing, right? So having a community benefits here. They can give you product feedback on what you're building and you can make changes accordingly. Community can help your product, community can help your brand, community can help your community grow. So for example, if someone comes into your community and you're not there because you can't be online 24/7, right? Or if you're busy or if you're somewhere else, right? Someone comes into your community and asks a question. Your community member are apt enough to reply whatever questions they might have. This can help your community grow. Community also provides content, like we saw in the contribution section of the Neon Labs Discord. A lot of people who create artwork using Canva, they post them on their Twitter and share those links in the contribution channel. I'm not talking about Mr. Beast level contribution when it comes to content, but these small content creation that are carried out by your community, they seem much more natural and organic. Now, let's understand the levels when it comes to community members. There are essentially four levels when it comes to community. The first one being lurker, that is someone who's joining your Discord and just, doing nothing. They're just there doing nothing, just existing. That's a casual lurker. Secondly, we have active audience. Now, these are the people know that you exist. They have been on, one of your Twitter spaces or Discord calls, but after that, there's nothing. Like they just know that you exist. After that comes the community member, and this is where you would want your community ideal, ideal person, ideal community member to be. These are the people who wake up every day, who say good morning, who say good night, who come into the community. It might not be regular, but they do come, like in between 3 4 days, and they check on what's going on. If someone comes in community and asks a question, these are the people who reply to it. And the last section would be super fans. Now, these are the people who act like they own the brand, they own the product, they own the community with you. So they'll help you with day-to-day operations, and you don't even have to pay them, right? They are so invested, they identify with your mission, vision, and story so much that they are doing this, free for free. And that's who those super fans are. These are the four levels of community, and you ideally don't want your community members to be on the fourth step, that is super fans, because it takes time. It takes, I think, really, long and hard work to bring a community member to a super fan. So you can expect like one super fan out of 25, 30, 40, maybe 50 people. What comes before building a community? A winning story. Let me explain. A story that connects and drives collective action. It is simple enough to share. It drives emotional response, and it speaks to and for a constituency. Now, for example, if I go out and say I want to create a community and have a bunch of biryani lovers to hang out, it's a biryani community. There's the end game there. Like it won't drive emotional response. Like, yeah, we are hanging out. What's next? Now, if I say I'm going to create a community of super duper hardcore, ultra hardcore biryani lovers, where we will create an index of biryani joints in town. Now that creates, or that gives an headway to a thought. Like someone might say and come, oh, you know what, Karim's biryani really sucks, or BK's biryani is really underrated and you should try it. This gets the conversation going forward. A winning story has three components. The first one is mission, the second one is shared vision, and the third one is the story. I actually created an example on this because I was taking example of building a biryani community. But I think since this is Web3, I took this from the workshop I took from Dowlands, and you can see on your screen now that this is the mission, shared vision, and story for Ethereum Foundation. Take a good look at this, and you'll realize that all 3 points, they are not essays or paragraphs. They are not the length of the white paper. So the lesson here is keep your vision, shared vision, and story small, crisp, and easy to understand. And these 3 points should, give the viewer or inflict some emotional response from your targeted community member or audience. Now, every community, every Web3 project, every Web3 product has a different vision, and story behind it. So if you're building a Web3 community, please don't just copy paste what I'm showing you on the screen right now. If you're stuck somewhere in your community building process, if you're struggling to find what your vision is, what your mission or your story is, I will leave my contact details in the description below. Reach out to me. I'm open for consultations, and we'll find out what your story, shared vision and mission is. And hopefully, I'll be able to add some value to your community building journey. Let's move on. Now, the first step to your community building journey would be to identify and build your audience. So before you start building your community, you have to attract audience first. So audience, remember, audience is not your community. Audience is something that comes before the community. Now, to attract the audience, the first thing you have to do is learn the lyrics. You have to understand, where your audience lies, and what they are speaking about. And see, if you're trying to build, in my case, if I'm trying to build a biryani community, I wouldn't go to Domino's or Pizza Hut and just stand outside those outlets and talk with people who are coming out of those outlets after eating their pizzas and talking about, hey, do you love biryani? That won't be my go-to place to start building an audience for my biryani community. I would probably stand outside some famous biryani joint in my city, where I am much more likely to get you know people who are interested in what I'm doing, right? And I would say, in terms of digital community or web3 communities, use the right keywords on social media. Now, if you go on Twitter and type in biryani DAO, I'm trying to build a DAO around biryani, that would definitely, turn some heads on Twitter. Like, this is something new. It's not every day we come across someone who's trying to build a DAO around biryani. And I would say your audience, they exist on internet, they exist on Twitter. So I would say talk with them, react with them. And that's like a very great way to build an audience before you start building your community. The next step is to create quick wins. Now, I'm not talking about airdropping tokens or giving away NFTs, although I do accept that I have made these mistakes in my community building journey, but you fall, you learn. So by quick wins, I mean, see, if now I have a biryani DAO, someone comes in and says GM, GN, and one day they come in and says, hey, you know what, my favorite biryani is Kashmiri biryani. Send them a Kashmiri biryani. Add value to their life. So this is what I mean by creating quick wins. So say someone comes into your DAO and they talk about their love of biryani, but they don't know how to cook and they would like to learn. Send them a cookbook. Or if you have a pro chef in your DAO who is biryani expert, connect them to. This is just an example of creating a quick win. Now, keep noting the small details, keep adding value to your audiences. And I'm not talking about community because we are still building audience here. So keep adding value to your audience's lives, and keep giving back. I wouldn't say to think of it like what can they do for me or what can they do for the community, but what can I or what can the community can do for them. Use the power of community to make their lives a little bit better, and add meaning to their life, and just see the magic happen. The next point is return every handshake. Now imagine if you go to a party or if you go to a wedding and there's nobody to receive you and you just don't know what to do, right? Now, speaking from experience, I have done the same mistake in my journey while I was building communities. This is where, when someone comes in Discord, because primarily most of the Web3 communities, their primary platform is Discord. They come in, they verify themselves, they do that tick mark, and there may or may not be an introduction channel. I've seen a lot of communities, they do have an introduction channel. People come in, introduce themselves. They do that, and that's it. There's nothing. There's this wall. Someone might come and just react to the message, but there's nobody to receive them. So there, when someone is introducing themselves, they're kind of extending their arm. You should return that handshake. Like, someone comes in, say, if I'm building a biryani tower, someone comes in and saying, hey, I'm a chef with 5 years of experience. I would, if I'm not online, it's fine. If I'm online and I see that message, I would, create a thread that, what, welcome to our community. And I love, your story, and you have some valuable insights, and we would like to know more about your journey, and etc, etc. Like, use kind words like, thank you for joining this community, and I hope we can add value to your journey, and so on and so forth. So this is what I mean by return every handshake, and not just one, two, three. You have to do this every time. You have to do this every time when you're starting out, building your community, when you're starting to build your audience. So it might be 20, 30 people, 50 people, but you have to take your time and return every one of their handshake. And when you do that, when you do that, it makes them, feel valued. It makes them feel good. Try this. If you have a web3 community, if you have an introduction channel, first of all, if you don't, make an introduction channel. And if you have an introduction channel, someone comes in and introduces themselves. Use good words, use kind words, appreciate them for joining, say thank you for joining, and ask them like how can we add value to each other's life, and just see how far it takes you. Now, let's move to the next part. So far, we have been, attracting audience, building audience, and now we actually try, or now we actually go ahead and build or carve a community out of that audience. Now, audience is someone that you have been able to grab their attention. Now it is the time to make them or convert them to your community member. How do you go about doing that? Let them take a shot. So what I mean by this is, say if you plan an AMA with some other DAO or other project, if someone in your community is good with art, tell them to make a art for the announcement of the AMA. Or if you're hosting a movie night, if someone in your community that they are a movie buff, tell them to choose a movie, this is the genre. Or tell them to select or run a poll in the community about what movie to be aired in the community for everyone to watch. And these are just example, and you can go about this in many ways. So now the next part would be opening doors to your community members. What do I mean by that? Be vulnerable with your community. It's okay if something didn't work out last week, share it with your community, host weekly calls. If something didn't work out and you came up with a way to overcome it, share that with your community members. Make them feel like they are a part of the process of whatever it is you're building. Don't overshare like, this line of code didn't work, or our designers were sick and our internet was down, so we couldn't do anything. Be meaningfully vulnerable while sharing. Now, the next part in building community from your audience is giving them an identity. Say someone in your community, you have helped them and they feel very good about it, and they have helped someone else, and they feel good about helping someone else. You've stroked some kind of nerve in their head, and you need to give them avenue to brag about this. So give them an identity, like give them some custom name like biryani masala, in case like I'm building a biryani DAO. I'm not actually doing it, just this is just an example. But yeah, give them something like biryani masala name in the Discord server. Or if you have a digital asset or a digital collection like an NFT, give them that, and maybe they can put it on their Twitter and just brag about how great the community is. The next step in this process is to bring your community together. So for example, in my case, if I'm building a biryani DAO and all I'm talking about is biryani, that's not gonna fly, right? If someone's coming in and talking about, hey, you know what, I love pasta, and give them avenue to talk about pasta. Someone comes in, talks about, you know what, I love cycling or I love working out. Create a channel, see how it goes. Like if someone else is interested in joining that channel or joining that conversation, don't keep it just to what around what that you're building as a community, because that's not gonna fly. We are a human, we're social animals. We love to associate with each other. I have a cat, you have a cat, oh my god, we're best friends. So yeah, bring them together. And I don't mean just start a Zoom call and everyone's there and nobody's speaking with each other. Give them different channels. Like, yeah, like I just said, if someone in your community, they have cats and someone else has cats, and then you find a third person, they have cat, start a channel where they can have a conversation or share pictures about cats. But keep in mind that at the same time, you're not opening up 10,000 channels for each and every topic, so be mindful about that. The next step in the community building process would be to make your community members shine. What do I mean by this? So Say someone in your community comes in and says that it is their birthday. Give them a special rule, give them a different color, announce in the community that it is their birthday, and watch the celebrations begin. If you know someone who's looking for a job in XYZ field, or if you know someone who's got a job in the same field, connect these two people. These two would be super happy to help each other. If someone comes in and shares a link where they have you know taken some effort to create an artwork about what you're doing, what you're building, and posted it on Twitter, give them like a big clap of hands, and just celebrate this, and they will feel valued, they will feel recognized. Recognition drives us humans more than anything. So when you take a look at these small details, when you recognize each and every thing that your community is doing for you and you start celebrating them, your community will go a long way. Now, the next part in our community building process would be tracking community growth and engagement. How do you go about doing that? So, the first thing I would say is, how do you spot big red flags? This will differ from community to community and individual to individual. So, I would say have your own set of big red flags at every stage while you're building the community. I'll give you an example. So, in my case, if I'm building a community, I would have a red flag like if a key member activity is down. I would try to gauge that why that key member activity is down and how I can solve that issue. Or if I am seeing a lot of spammers and scammers come into my community trying to scam people, I would question that where in my security measures that I am not you know fulfilling that level of security, or where do I need to do better in terms of security so this does not happen. Now, under tracking community growth and engagement, there are multiple points such as hidden metrics and measure the number that matters, such as quality versus quantity, and how do you go about monitoring your community engagement and your community members, and what step of your community building cycle are you in right now, and which step should you take next, and how do you go about experimenting with community. All these points, they're going to take super long time for me to explain, and I'd rather explain them to you on a one-on-one call. So what I'll do is, once again, I have left my contact details in the description below, and if you're stuck in your community building process or journey and would want to consult with me, would like to consult me, please contact me, and hopefully I can add value to your community building journey. Now let's move on to the do nots, like what should you not do while building a Web3 community. Now, the first thing you shouldn't do when you're building your Web3 community is, when you make a Discord server for your community, you should not start with 10,000 channels outright. Now, you may look at other communities and say that they have so many channels, maybe I should have them. Their story and your story, it is not the same. They might be a much older community and you're just starting out. When you start a video game, you start out by collecting, helping villagers collect 10 apples. You just don't go into boss battle where you fight god. So start out small and go from there. Now, another point I see when communities are starting out is that they look at other big communities and add like 5 to 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 or more languages, and each language has a separate channel. You don't want to do that. At the beginning, you want concentrated engagement. So it doesn't matter if your community members are spread worldwide in different time zones or speak different languages. At the beginning, you want that concentrated engagement. You want your community members to talk in one place instead of a couple of people talking in different channels. Now, that does not mean that you stop experimenting. Now, if you see 5 to 10 people in your Discord server or your community talking about crypto market, create a channel for them so they can have a tight-knit conversation on that topic in that specific channel. And keep an eye out of what your community members are talking about, and like I said, keep experimenting on it. And if something, if for example, if the topic activity goes down, archive that channel, and if you see some other topic which is the community like they've been talking about, make a channel about that. So yeah, keep experimenting and don't stop. Now we'll address Discord deafness. If you're in Web3, you know majority of people are using Discord to access the communities, the Web3 communities. So if someone is joining your community, be rest assured that they are part of 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 other Web3 communities on Discord. And what usually happens is they probably don't care about 98% of the communities that they are a part of. Either they are on mute or they just don't care. They probably go into those one or two communities where they feel good or get some value out of. So first of all, become that kind of community, and second of all, your audience exists everywhere, not only on Discord. For example, they are on Facebook, they are on Instagram, they are on YouTube, Reddit, Notion, like they're literally everywhere. So if you're only using Discord as a constant touch point, you're missing out. There is a good movie, it's called Focus, and there's a scene in that where Will Smith bets huge. I think I don't know if I can describe it. I'll link it. So I'll link the video in the description. So what he does is he creates a constant touch points throughout the day to win a huge bet in the end. It's the same thing here. So your audience exists on Facebook, contact them on Facebook, interact with them on Facebook, interact with them on Instagram, with them on Notion, create multiple touch points on different platforms, and you'll see that the target audience or the target community member you're trying to attract, they will come back because you've been creating those constant touch points across platforms. They won't forget about you. Lastly, do not try to build your community fast. Community building in Web3 is a very slow process. Take your time. It requires time and effort. You must have seen many communities, or in your experience, you must have seen many tweets from NFT communities, up and coming NFT communities, that join our Discord and you can get a chance to win this rare NFT. Or you must have seen some token on Twitter saying join our Discord and you can win some airdrop tokens. What you'll see is a lot of people joining in, but that's not a community. Do you think that's a community? No, that's not a community, because after a while that engagement, that buzz, that will go down. People will either leave or just put you on mute. So when you do those kind of things to attract people into your Discord server, that is not sustainable. Please don't do that. And like I said, community building takes time and effort. Take it slow, take it one day at a time, keep experimenting. Don't do giveaways, but also do meaningful giveaways. What do I mean by this is, you don't want to put a habit of giving away free money, NFT, or tokens to your community, because that sets a pattern. But when you do meaningful giveaways, so for example, when you're starting out, you have a good, meaningful, community. You have good community members. Do meaningful giveaway. Like for example, someone, comes in and shares that they are looking to learn this. Give them a course, give them an online course, right? So if someone comes in and they're looking to contact someone in a specific field because they want a job, if you know someone in that field, connect them with that person. This is what I mean by doing meaningful giveaways. Doing these meaningful giveaways, your community will appreciate you 100x than just giving away free money. So these are some good practices to follow. We are at the end of this video, and here are my final thoughts. During the workshop, we had a guest session where Justin Vogel, co-founder of Safari Club, came in and shared his wisdom about community building. I will link the website to Safari Club in the description below so you guys can check it out. The one point I remember from Justin's session was, communities are highly experimental. Embrace it. What this means is when you're building community, you should constantly keep experimenting. You should not stop experimenting no matter what stage of community building you are in. The day you stop experimenting, the day your community, starts rusting off, that community dies off. So keep experimenting and keep building. Now, if you don't understand anything from this video, leave your comments in the description below, or like I said, I have left my contact details. If you'd like to have a chat with me, I'll also leave my calendly. Just book a meeting with me. If you'd like to consult me, again, my contact details are in the description below. And hopefully through this video I was able to add some value to your community building journey. To be honest, I have been recording this video for 3 days straight. It might look to you guys that I recorded this in one fell swoop, but I had to cram 3 hours, 3.5 hours of workshop into this 30. I think it's going to be about 30-minute video in a 30-minute video. So I hope you guys can get some value out of it. Thank you for watching. Do leave your feedbacks in the comment section. Do like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys very, very soon with another topic on Web3 community building. See you guys. Bye bye.